On this episode of Higher Definition, The Life of Reilly, a movie about who else but Charles Nelson Reilly. Now, one of the pleasures of doing the show is that I get to show you some things and show you some people that you may not know about just yet. Two of those guys are Barry Poltermann and Frank Anderson, who have made a great documentary about the great Charles Nelson Reilly. I saw this film at the South by Southwest Film Festival in Austin in March, expecting to hate it, and yet I could not stop watching Charles Nelson Reilly on a stage talking about his life, his tragic, twisted, and tremendous life. Of course, you know him from Match Game, but there is so many more things he has to talk about. So do the directors of the movie. But let me just say this right now. It does not yet have distribution. And if you, powerful Hollywood executive watching this at home on your 65-inch flat screen, see this and go, damn it, that looks amazing, by all means, contact me and I'll hook you up. The Life of Reilly is wonderful. That's why it's here on Higher Definition.
I would ask her things and she would say the same thing every time. I would say, Ma, why does Daddy sit with his back to the faucets in the bathtub? She said, save it for the stage. I said, why doesn't Mrs. Toolin, Ma, why doesn't she speak to you anymore in the hall? Save it for the stage, I said. You couldn't talk about anything, I guess. You couldn't talk about anything in life and you just had to save everything for the stage. And then when she was really mad at me, she said, I can't sit down. I can't move my legs. Because ever since I gave birth to you, I've had this pressure. And then when she was really pissed off, she would knock down my puppet show and she would say, I should have thrown away the baby. I kept the afterbirth. Well, it's that kind of show. You think it's all going to be game shows?
I'm sure every interview you've done begins with I was really skeptical, but is that really the way it goes? Because I'm going to say, someone that goes, The Life of Charles Nelson Reilly, you're like, a one-man show, really, I'm okay. 2 seconds into that thing, you don't want to stop watching it.
Right from the beginning, I kind of had that same reaction where I was thinking, there's something, there's something interesting about this.
So this was what, about 2000 when he started doing the show?
Yeah. And by the time we actually heard about it, he wasn't doing it he was taking it around the country. So I actually didn't see it. I actually didn't see the show. In fact, we didn't see the show until we filmed it.
Jack Lemmon, Steve McQueen, Ann Mira, Jules Munchin, Geraldine Page, please. Hi, Jerry. Geraldine Page, Charles Nelson Reilly. Here, Miss Hagen. Charles Nelson Reilly, Jason Robards, Jerry Stiller. Jerry, don't stand in the back. There's a seat next to Ann Mira in the first row. Jerry, come down board again. Okay, thank you. Jerry Stiller, Tom Troop, and Fritz Weaver. Miss Hagen's Tuesday, 11 a.m. This was my class. We had three things in common. We wanted to go on the stage. We didn't have any money. And all of us, this entire list of Academy Award and Emmy and Tony Award winning actors, couldn't act for shit.
So what did you guys learn about the guy over the process? I mean, he does go from very quickly, within the course of watching it, I can only imagine from spending time with him, he goes from being sort of this cult icon to being something far more human and far more real.
Here's the Charles everybody or most people knows, Match Game, right here.
Right.
70s, ubiquitous, on TV all the time.
Love Boat, Tonight Show.
Oh, yeah, always, same shtick.
Lidsville.
Always, the cap, the glasses, the whole, And then beneath here, internationally respected opera director, one of the greatest acting teachers of the last 50 years, Broadway star with hit albums.
So what kind of relationship do you guys have with him? Because when you take on a project like this, it's a fun idea at first. Well, we're going to do this one-man show of Charles Nelson Reilly. But you sort of, this guy in some way entrusts his life and life's story to you, which is kind of a big responsibility, no matter who he is, no matter his status as an icon or just a guy. It can be any documentary you make about anybody. So what was your relationship like with him, and how did it change over that period of knowing him and filming him?
I think it took a while to build up trust. I mean, this was a big, scary thing for him to see this on film and know that somebody else was going to be editing it, and also that we had been pretty much up front at the beginning that we wanted it to be about an hour and a half. We were going to do other things, sort of visual elements, to sort of try to, put our sort of touch onto it, not just film a show.
Right, like the stuff about my mom would be played by Shirley Booth and my father by Hume Cronin. That
Right.
wasn't in the original.
Well,
He
him
had-
saying
but-
it was, yeah.
Right, but he didn't have there wasn't a screen behind him with a
Right.
visual image.
Well,
of
there was a lot of things. We had a discussion with the original director of the play, Paul Link, who had wanted to do a lot of that type of stuff live, and they just didn't have the budget to
Right.
really do that.
Very
so,
swimming to Cambodia style. They would've-
Exactly, yeah, and our thought right from the beginning was actually we referred to swimming in to Cambodia when we were telling Charles about it.
I remember a back and forth with him in his living room, where he'd say, "After all, this is a play." And then I said, "No, it's a cinema motion picture movie." And then he looked back at me and said, "It's a cross between the two."
Well, what was his reaction to it when you showed it? You're obviously scared, and he's obviously got some nervousness about seeing the extra elements. But when he sees the shorter version, what did he say about it?
Well, he understands
Right.
that it's a shorter version. He has no problem with that. What he does is he takes that shorter version and starts breaking it down, because that's what he does. He's a teacher, actor, director.
When it says at the end, a film by, and we include Charles' name, that was
I was going to ask you about that.
You cannot argue with him, because usually he's right.
that wasn't
Yes.
just to be
Yeah.
nice. I mean, he's
Truly,
been a
he
very
knows what he's doing. He's
Like, what
usually
kind of
right.
notes would he give you?
he gave very specific notes about ideas. For instance, once he saw the visual imagery of the type of stuff we were doing with the visuals, he gave us notes about things that he thought would be good cutaways. For instance, the Hartford Circus Fire.
Right.
He knew about that footage. He gave us that footage.
Really?
We had no idea that actual footage from that actual day existed.
Wow.
And that's a gift from Charles.
And this beautiful acrobat with a headdress of yellow feathers. When she stepped on the wire, Donald screamed, "Fire! Fire!" And the voice in my head said, "Jump! Jump!" Donald and I jumped, and we ran to the other end of the tent, and we ran to the edge of the parking lot and turned around, and it was gone! Donald! The tent is gone! It's gone. And there was hardly any sound. The band was playing the Stars and Stripes Forever, because that's what they do when there's an emergency. A little girl went past me and her face had been burned away. And she kept screaming, "My mommy's going to kill me, my mommy's going to kill me." Well, she was already dead. Her mother wasn't going to kill her. The circus did that. 168 people were killed July 6th, 1944. And there's my picture with one of my beautiful toupees. And oh, thank God, that period is over.
Did you ever feel like he was embellishing these stories? Because
Well,
Not at all.
no, I mean,
Every great storyteller embellishes,
Right.
period.
but the lobotomy, just so the as he says, the Eugene O'Neill wouldn't touch my family.
Right. Generally, as we've sort of drilled down to sort of, because we've had our own questions, like did a tree really fall on his car on
Right.
Sunset Boulevard? The stories have been generally true in essence,
They're true-esque.
They're true. For instance,
well,
he
they're-
was on The Tonight Show 99 times, not
Well,
104. I don't know why
but
he
that
would add
changed.
5.
Why would
but
he add
did.
5?
So he thinks it's a better number. I
He
don't
had to
know.
edit this film, and every take we have of him saying that is 102 times, 107 times. How do you match cut that?
Seriously, you, independent film distributor watching at home right now, email me, higherdefinition@hd.net. I'm waiving my finder's fee, no commission. I know you want to release The Life of Reilly, because everybody watching wants to see it.
He wouldn't wear a lav, for
Yeah.
instance.
Well, he wouldn't wear a
We
lav
finally
because
secretly sewed one
he's
into,
angry.
into his
He's
outfit,
angry
so-
that modern actors can't project anymore. When he wears a lav, that would be the death of the theater.